What could make the fiercest warriors of medieval Europe falter, their hands trembling on the hilts of their swords? What unseen terror could reduce the mighty Norse raiders? Men who carved fear into the hearts of kings from Dublin to Baghdad, two hushed, fearful murmurs around their campfires. The answer lies not in the clash of steel or the roar of battle, but in the silent, snow-draped wilderness of the far north. Here, in a forgotten chapter of the Viking Age, a mysterious people thrived, so elusive and cunning that they became the stuff of Norse nightmares. These were the Bohemians, a tribe so perfectly attuned to their frozen realm that they turned the very landscape into a weapon, humbling the Vikings where no other foe could. In the tales we tell of the Vikings, they stand as unstoppable predators, their dragon-prowed longships slicing through stormy seas, their axes gleaming with the promise of conquest. From the late 8th century to the mid-11th, they reshaped Europe, plundering monasteries, founding kingdoms, and trading across continents. Yet in the vast frost-bound forests of what is now northern Finland, northwestern Russia, and the Kola Peninsula, they met their match. The Bohemians, a people shrouded in mystery, didn't just resist the Vikings. They made them fear the shadows. This is their story, a saga of survival, cunning, and a clash of worlds that echoes through the ages. To understand the Bohemians' triumph, we must first step into the boots of a Viking warrior. Picture the year 793 CE when the raid on Lindisfarne's monastery sent shockwaves through Kristiansand, marking the dawn of the Viking Age. For nearly 3 centuries, the Norse surged across the known world. Their sleek, long ships navigated rivers and seas, carrying warriors to the shores of Ireland, the heart of France, and even the distant markets of Constantinople. They were not just raiders, but settlers, traders, and explorers, forging a vast network that stretched from Greenland to the Caspian Sea. The Vikings thrived on their adaptability. Their ships, marvels of craftsmanship, could sail through shallow rivers or brave open oceans. Their culture celebrated courage, honor, and individual glory, where a warrior's reputation was as precious as gold. By the 9th century, they had established colonies in the British Isles, founded the Kievan Rus in the east, and traded with empires as far as the Abbasid Caliphate. Yet there were places their axes couldn't conquer, where their shields offered no protection. One such place was the land the Norse called Bohemland, a frozen frontier where the rules of their world no longer applied. In the Norse sagas, Bohemland is a place of myth, a realm of endless snow and whispering spirits, but it was real. Home. To the Bohemians, a semi-nomadic people, likely related to the Sami and Finnic tribes, yet distinct in their ways. They roamed the deep forests and tundra of the far north, living in harmony with an environment that would break most others. Unlike the Norse who tilled fields and sailed seas, the Bohemians were hunters, fishers, and traders moving with the seasons to harvest the bounty of their harsh homeland. Their mastery of the north was unmatched. Archaeological evidence paints a vivid picture: skis and snowshoes crafted for speed and stealth, furs layered for warmth in sub-zero cold, and portable shelters that could be built or dismantled in hours. Imagine a Viking raised in the mild coastal fjords of Norway stepping into a biome forest in midwinter. The silence is oppressive. The snow swallows sound, and the air bites like a blade. To the biomes, this was home. They glided across snowfields on skis, their sleds laden with goods while the Vikings floundered. Their heavy boots sinking into drifts, they move as if the snow itself carries them, wrote an Arab traveler, Ibrahim ibn Ahmed, who joined Norse traders in 920 CE. Their feet are bound with boards that defy the deep snow, and their sleds slide where horses perish. These boards were skis refined over centuries to navigate forests and open tundra. The biomes' clothing, reindeer pelts for bitter cold, seal skins for wet winters, outmatched the Norse's woolen cloaks. Their shelters, from earth insulated lodges to temporary hide tents, allowed them to thrive where others froze, but their greatest weapon was the land itself. The Bohemians turned the North's challenges, its cold, its snow, its endless forests into allies. Hidden paths wound through impossible terrain. Pit traps lay concealed beneath snow. Frozen lakes became highways for their skis, but death traps for Viking boots. To the Norse, this was a land of dread where every shadow might conceal foe and every silence might herald an attack. A runestone near Trondheim, etched around 950 CE, bears a chilling warning. Beware the watchers in the white forest. They see without being seen, they kill without sound. They are not men, as we know men. This inscription captures the terror the Bohemians instilled in their Norse neighbors. The Vikings, who prided themselves on fearlessness, found themselves haunted by an enemy they couldn't comprehend. The Bohemians waged war unlike any the Vikings had faced. Norse battles were loud, brutal affairs, shield walls clashing, warriors shouting for glory. Bohemians rejected this. They struck from ambush, melting into the forest before the Norse could raise their axes. Their weapons, found in graves across their territory, were designed for precision. Lightweight bows for silent shots, slender spears for quick kills, curved knives for throats cut in the dark. They appear like lightning and vanish like mist, wrote a Byzantine diplomat in 950 CE, recounting tales from Norse merchants. Some say they become wolves, but this is surely superstition. Their tactics were as ingenious as they were ruthless. They avoided open battle, knowing the Vikings' superior numbers and armor would prevail. Instead, they used the landscape as a weapon. Hidden trails led Norse raiders into bogs or ambushes. False tracks lured them to cliffs or frozen rivers that cracked under their weight. They struck at night, targeting sentries or leaders to SEO chaos. One saga tells of a Viking camp waking to find their guards dead, their throats slit. Without a sound and strange symbols carved into nearby trees, the Bohemians also mastered psychological warfare. They left eerie signs for the Vikings to find. Animal bones arranged in circles, bodies posed in unnatural ways, or trees marked with runes no Norse-schooled could read. These acts fed the Vikings' superstitions, convincing them they faced not just men, but spirits. "We fought no men but ghosts," one survivor whispered after a failed raid in 870 CE*. "They moved through snow without trace. And when we chased them, they vanished into the cliffs, as if the earth swallowed them." In truth, these ghosts were masters of deception. Bohemian warriors wore white furs for camouflage, their footsteps lightened by snowshoes. They built hidden shelters and escape routes, creating the illusion of supernatural powers. By targeting Viking leaders and scouts, they ensured maximum disruption with minimal risk. A mass grave near the White Sea, dated to 925 CE, holds 15 Norse warriors, 12 killed by precise stabs to the Skaro spine. Silent, efficient strikes that speak of trained killers. Their tactics unnerved the Vikings. The Bohemians' spiritual practices terrified them. The Norse worshipped Odin and Thor, their gods bound by a structured cosmology. Bohemian spirituality was different, fluid, shamanic, and woven into every aspect of life. Their shamans, often women, wore masks of bark and bone, beat drums, painted with strange symbols, and led rituals that sent participants into trances. They become beasts. A missionary named Thang Brand wrote in 997 CE, howling like wolves, their bodies twitching as if possessed. Archaeological finds support these accounts, as ceremonial drums, animal masks, and sculptures showing human-animal transformations. The Bohemians practice mummification, preserving their dead with smoke and resins, keeping them in sacred lodges as spiritual guardians. To the Vikings, this was horrifying, a violation of the boundary between life and death. One saga describes a Viking scout stumbling upon a Bohemian ritual. Their shaman wore a bare skull, its eyes gleaming in the firelight. They danced until they fell, foaming at the mouth as if their souls had left their bodies. These rituals weren't just spiritual, they were weapons. The Bohemians staged supernatural encounters to exploit Norse fears. Carved spirit posts line their borders, their faces half human, half beast. One account tells of a Viking party finding their missing scouts in a clearing, their eyes removed, surrounded by wolf tracks that led nowhere. Modern analysis suggests these were staged ambushes, tracks crafted to mislead the eyes, taken to suggest a curse. This Biomaean dread broke even seasoned warriors who fled rather than face an enemy they believed wielded dark magic. For all their terror, the Biomaeans were not just warriors. They were traders. Their land was rich with treasures that dazzled the medieval world. Arctic fox and sable furs softer than silk and worth more than gold. Walrus ivory carved into ornaments, amber glowing with trapped insects and falcons prized by emperors. From Babylon comes wealth beyond measure, wrote Ahmed ibn Fadlan in 922 CE. Furs that kings covet, medicines that heal, and talismans whispered to hold great power. The Vikings craved these goods, but struggled to control their trade. The Biomaeans, masters of their territory, dictated terms. They met Norse merchants at border markets, under sacred truces enforced by shamans and priests. No weapon may be drawn. One saga, notes of a trading season. The Biomaeans bring sleds of furs, and we bring silver, but their eyes miss nothing. Some Vikings tried to raid these riches, but the cost was high. One saga recounts a raid in 995 CE, led by King Olaf Tryggvason, targeting a Biomaean storehouse. His men seized furs and ivory only to be ambushed on their return, losing all but 8 survivors, 2 arrows from unseen foes. This economic dance, part trade, part conflict, shaped their relationship. The Biomaeans held the upper hand, their resistance ensuring they remained gatekeepers of the North's wealth. Perhaps the most shocking aspect for the Vikings was the role of Biomaean womb.